They told the security guard I didn't belong at a graduation party I paid for. Hi, I'm Delaney. I spent 3 years funding my sister's rent, tuition, even her designer gown, only to be erased from the celebration like I was never part of the family. Ever had someone smile in your face while cutting you out behind the scenes? Ever given everything, only to realize you were just a tool in someone else's story? Tell me, how would you respond if your love, your loyalty, your silence were treated like a transaction? Let's rewind to the moment I showed up at the gate and they pretended I didn't exist. I didn't expect a red carpet, but I also didn't expect to be blocked at the gate by a man built like a bank vault. "Ma'am," he said, his sunglasses never lifting, "this is a private event. We'll have to ask you to step back." The estate behind him looked like it had been ripped from a glossy wedding magazine, Mediterranean-style arches, hedges trimmed to unnatural perfection, and a marble fountain spraying filtered water like a declaration of wealth. Fairy lights twinkled above a backyard crowded with people in pastel suits and champagne-toned dresses. Music floated through the air, jazzy, over-curated, too polished to be real joy. The scent of seared shrimp and truffle risotto hung in the breeze. I held up my phone, screen open to a blurry Facebook comment thread. "I'm her sister," I said, voice level. The guard didn't move, just raised one eyebrow, like I'd claimed I was royalty. A second guard stepped aside, muttering into a mic. I heard a burst of laughter from the yard. Glasses clinked. Someone yelled to Aubrey, and a sea of cheers followed. Then the door opened. Aubrey emerged first, framed by the setting sun. Her golden gown clung to her frame like it had been tailored to win awards. Her smile was pure PR, bright, empty, calculated. She didn't stop walking, just tilted her head toward the guards and said, "She doesn't belong here." The words didn't even sting at first. They registered as absurd, like an actor breaking the fourth wall mid-play. Then Marla appeared behind her, fingers clutching a stemless wine glass like it was a stress ball. Her smile was the same one she wore at PDA meetings, strained and just for show. "You really showed up?" Craig's voice followed, calm and sharp. He leaned against the doorframe, one hand in his pocket, the other holding a tumbler of something dark. His face didn't move much, but the amusement flickering in his eyes was obvious. He looked like a man watching a rerun he never got tired of. "I came to see Aubrey walk," I said quietly. Marla moved forward. "Delaney," she whispered, eyes darting nervously toward the guests, "this is Aubrey's moment. Let's not escalate." "You mean like pretending I don't exist?" I shot back, letting the words hang. Craig chuckled under his breath. "Not cruel, just careless." That hurt more. "We didn't think you'd want to come. Not after everything." "What everything?" I asked. Aubrey stepped in, tone practiced and effortlessly dismissive. "You helped just to guilt me. It's not support. It's manipulation." I looked at her. She was glowing, not with joy, but with attention, validation, admiration from strangers. The same people who probably thought she clawed her way up alone. "I paid $3,200 this term," I said, my voice steady. "That dress? The one you're flexing on Instagram with? I bought that too." Her mouth twitched. "Barely." "Then you're welcome," I added. And I turned. No tears. No scene. Just the click of my flats on their expensive gravel as I walked away. A few guests nearby turned slightly. One of them, a woman in peach heels, lowered her flute and whispered something to the man beside her. I didn't care enough to wonder what. As I passed the valet tent, I saw the buffet table through the hedge. 5 heat trays lined up with gourmet sliders, shrimp skewers, mini tacos. I recognized every item because I'd helped balance that budget. Aubrey had sent me the proposal with, "Can you front this for now? I'll Venmo you later." She never did. In my car, I sat for a full minute before unlocking my phone. "Starting next month, your rent's on you. Good luck." I hit send. The bracelet in my bag, a sterling silver piece with a tiny book charm, pressed against my thigh. I'd picked it out 3 weeks ago. It was still wrapped in a box with a blue ribbon. I thought I'd hand it to her after the walk. Not for recognition, just as a nod to the fact that I saw her. I knew how much she wanted to feel seen. Funny. I was the invisible one. Halfway down the block, I caught sight of a little girl in a lopsided pink dress holding a piece of cake. She looked directly at me from the edge of the lawn and gave a shy wave. I lifted my fingers slightly, but her mother yanked her back into the crowd without looking. By the time I reached my apartment, twilight had settled into the city like a sigh. I kicked off my shoes. No lights, just quiet. The hum of my fridge. My neighbor's TV bleeding a sitcom laugh track through the wall. I dropped the gift box on the coffee table like it was something I no longer owed anyone. Then my phone buzzed. No name. Just a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring out. It buzzed again. On the third call, I answered without speaking. "Hey," a voice whispered. It was Zoe. A pause. Then, "I think you need to see this." 3 minutes later, 3 screenshots arrived. A group chat. Aubrey plus real ones. Aubrey. Told y'all she'd show up. So desperate to feel included. Someone else. He pays your bills and still gets treated like trash? Must love it. Aubrey. Paying doesn't mean family. It means useful. The photo attached, my face from Facebook, cropped, filtered, slapped onto a meme. Caption. ATM machine. But make it sad. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat back in the dark, my screen lighting the room like a spotlight. They didn't forget me. They built a whole new family story. One that sold better without me in it. And now I was done being the quiet part of their narrative. I didn't sleep much after Zoe sent the screenshots. I kept staring at them, letting each word carve a little deeper. I wasn't even angry, just stunned. Like finding out the fire alarm never worked, and all those nights I smelled smoke. I wasn't paranoid, I was right. At 3:17 a.m., I got out of bed. No music. No coffee. Just me and the glow of my laptop in a silent apartment. The radiator groaned softly under the window, barely warming the space. Outside, the city slept beneath a low fog, and inside, the only light came from my screen. I opened the folder I'd labeled Aubrey, Rent, Tuition Lies. It wasn't a spite folder. It was survival. Years of PayPal transfers, bank records, Venmo screenshots. Labeled, dated, organized by year. Every thank you, followed by silence. Every can you cover this just for now, followed by a club selfie. Every I'll pay you back, that never happened. I pulled up the group chat screenshot again. ATM machine. But make it sad. There it was. The brand they gave me. Not daughter. Not sister. Just resource. The cursor blinked on an empty message window. First stop? The family group chat. The same one that never acknowledged my birthday last year but had 3 separate posts for Aubrey's dog's adoption anniversary. I hadn't spoken in it for over a year, just watched it fill up with emojis, baby bump photos, and God is good messages. I uploaded the screenshot of the group chat. No commentary. Just one line. Let me show you what your perfect daughter really thinks of me. Then silence. 10 minutes passed. The scene dots began to line up. Craig. Marla. Aunt Janine. Even Cousin Drew, who never reacts to anything but sports memes. Then Aunt Martha left the group. No message. Just gone. I stared at the screen. It reflected off the glass of my empty mug beside the keyboard. They weren't confused. They were exposed, and still chose silence. So I took it further. I opened Reddit. I'd lurked on r/family drama for years, read stories that echoed mine too closely. Parents who favored appearances over honesty. Siblings who twisted sacrifice into shame. I created a throwaway. /quiet no more understood. And I started typing. My sister tried to kick me out of her graduation party, the one I paid for. Here's what really happened. I attached screenshots of the payments. Labeled transactions. Fall tuition, $3,200. Rent, $750, monthly x 3 years. Dress, $698.94. Then the texts. Aubrey, thanks, you're the best. Delaney, let me know when it arrives. Aubrey, can't wait to shine. Then came the group chat. The meme. The laughter. And finally, I ended it with a single line. Silence protects abusers. I'm done being quiet. I hesitated for 2 seconds. Then I hit the post. The click of the mouse felt louder than it should have. The room was still dark. The only sound was the low hum of the fridge and the ticking wall clock I'd stopped noticing years ago. I sat back in the creaky chair, scrolling. Comments came in like raindrops, quiet at first, then suddenly pouring. You're not crazy. This is financial abuse dressed in the family. My brother did the same to me. Please don't take this down. I feel seen. One comment had nearly 2,000 likes in under 30 minutes. You were the backbone. They just liked that you never asked to be the face. I froze. My inbox lit up with DM requests. Then came a buzz on my phone. Private number. I let it ring out. Buzz again. This time, a text. From Marla. Take it down. You're hurting the family. I laughed. Soft. Hollow. The woman who stood behind her daughter while I was told to leave. The woman who thanked me for being reliable but never called me by name when introducing us to others. Now she cares? I typed one line. You erased me for years. This is me reclaiming space. No response. But her silence, for once, was mine to interpret. And I didn't feel guilty. I felt air. I minimized Reddit. Opened the screenshots again. I'd labeled them neatly in a subfolder. /proof/public version. Each file name included the date and amount. Each one a monument to years of invisible labor. My receipts had always been for them. Now they were for me. Outside, the street lights flickered. Inside, my cursor blinked again, waiting. But this time, I wasn't the one sitting still. I picked the cafe for a reason. It wasn't one of those cozy, warm, plant-filled places where people linger and pretend they're in a movie. It was sterile, neutral, glass and chrome and silence. The kind of space where nothing softened the words people spoke. That's what I wanted. No warmth, no distractions. Just truth. Aubrey arrived 10 minutes late. Her version of on time. She wore expensive loungewear and a sleek low bun, carrying herself like someone who knew people were watching. Her sunglasses stayed on even as she walked inside. When she reached the table, she slipped them down her nose, revealing red-rimmed eyes that didn't match the flawless concealer. Migraine, she said flatly, dropping into the chair across from me like I was the one who invited her. I didn't reply, just watched her. A moment passed, then she leaned back, arms crossed. This is dramatic, Delaney. That's rich, I said. Coming from someone who posted a $700 dress with a self-made caption. Her eyes narrowed. You know how online works. People curate. You mean lie. A long pause. She glanced toward the counter, like she was considering walking away. But she didn't. Why did you call me here? She asked, tone clipped. I didn't, I said. Zoe told you I wanted 5 minutes. You chose to show up. She exhaled through her nose. Then say what you came to say. I'm not here to fight, I said. I'm here to clarify. A small, cynical laugh escaped her lips. Clarify? You mean humiliate? No, I said, leaning forward. Humiliation is public. This is private. You want public? We can go there. Aubrey blinked. I opened my bag, pulled out a thin, stapled packet, and slid it across the table. She hesitated, then flipped through. Pages of transfers, timestamps, payment IDs, labeled by month, year, and reason. Tuition, spring, rent, July, dress, graduation. I waited until she reached the final page before I spoke again. That's 3 years of your life I covered while skipping dinners. That's what you erased in every post, every caption, every public thanks to Marla, every time you called me intense behind my back. I didn't say that, she muttered. You didn't have to, I said. You just let them. She closed the packet and slid it back without touching the table. I never asked for all that. Lies, I said. You begged for it. I have the texts. She didn't deny it, just crossed her arms tighter, lips pressed into a thin line. Then, as if on cue, Marla walked in. I saw her through the glass before she entered, hair curled, sweater pastel, phone still in hand. She made a show of putting it away as she approached. I didn't know this was going to be an ambush, I said as she slid into the third seat. I came to mediate, Marla said, smoothing her cardigan like that would fix anything. This is getting out of hand. It got out of hand when you let your daughter humiliate me at a party I paid for. That wasn't the intention. No, I said, my voice cold. The intention was always to pretend I wasn't real, just useful. Marla's eyes darted toward Aubrey, then back to me. You're twisting this, she said. Am I? I asked. You never posted a single birthday photo of me, but you printed custom banners for Aubrey's graduation. You forgot every gift I sent, but you thanked strangers who showed up late. I thought you didn't want attention, she said, voice too soft. I wanted acknowledgement, I snapped. And don't you dare tell me I'm selfish for asking. You're the older one, she said quietly. You should be the bigger person. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. I've been the bigger person my entire life. Bigger than your pettiness. Bigger than Aubrey's entitlement. Bigger than every silence you weaponized. Have you ever been told to be the bigger person while everyone else got away with hurting you? Like your strength was used as a reason to stay silent? If that hit you deep, drop a 7 in the comments. Now, let's see what I did next, with no more apologies. Marla looked away. Aubrey stared at the table. I stood. I'm not here for your comfort, I said. I'm here for the truth. Neither of them followed me when I left. Outside, the city buzzed like it hadn't noticed the war that just ended inside. I crossed the street slowly, breathing in the air like it might give me back a version of myself I thought I'd lost. When I got home, I dropped the packet onto my kitchen table and stood in the doorway for a moment. A breeze moved through the open window. It felt earned. Then my phone vibrated. A text from Grandpa Eugene. That's not the Will we saw 2 years ago. The envelope sat on my kitchen table like it didn't know it was holding a war.
Thick. Brown.
No return address. But the moment I picked it up, I knew what it was. A scanned copy of the new will, sent anonymously, but I didn't need a signature to recognize the truth behind it. Every page was a deliberate erasure. Every asset, heirloom, and clause went to Aubrey. My name wasn't mentioned. Not even in the event of clause. Not a single word. I read it twice, then a third time. hoping some version of me would appear if I squinted hard enough. But the ink didn't change. The silence on those pages was louder than any insult. I forwarded the file to Grandpa Eugene. It took him less than 10 minutes to call. "That's recent," he said, voice low. "That's not the Will we saw 2 years ago." And suddenly, everything made sense. The party, the laughter, the group chat, the absence. The way Marla's voice had cracked with feigned concern. This wasn't just emotional distance, it was legal finality. 2 days later, I showed up at their house. The air outside was unusually still. The wind didn't move the hedges, and the walkway felt too clean, too rehearsed, like everything had been swept to look presentable, just enough to pretend no storm had ever passed through. Inside, the house smelled faintly of citrus cleaner and furniture polish. Light streamed in from the high windows, too bright for how cold it felt in the hall. Somewhere, a wall clock ticked loudly, like it wanted to mark every awkward second I stood there. I didn't wait for permission. My flats clicked against the hardwood as I walked straight into the living room. Aubrey was curled up on the sectional, phone glowing in her hand, legs tucked under a throw blanket like she hadn't been waiting for this conversation her whole life. The moment she noticed me, her grip on the phone tightened, but she didn't look up. Craig was at the dining table, newspaper folded perfectly in front of him, reading glasses resting low on his nose, a ceramic mug steaming near his elbow. He didn't flinch. I dropped the envelope on the table in front of him. The sound, a dry slap of paper on wood, cut through the stillness. Somewhere in the background, the fridge motor hummed louder, as if even the appliances were bracing for what came next. Marla's voice floated down the stairs before her body did. "Delaney?" She appeared at the top landing in her pale blue sweater and soft slippers. Her fingers gripped the banister too tightly, knuckles whitening. She descended slowly, step by step, like she was preparing for a sermon. I looked her dead in the eye. "Let's skip the speeches. I'm not here to fight. I'm here for clarity." Craig didn't move. Aubrey shifted slightly, but didn't glance up. Marla stopped on the last step. I pointed at the envelope. "That document is the most honest thing you've ever produced. It finally says out loud what you've been acting on for years." "Delaney," Marla began, her voice already coated in artificial calm. I cut her off. "If your love comes with conditions, say that. If your version of family requires silence and obedience, admit it. But don't dress it up as concern. Don't insult me twice." Craig finally looked up. His eyes were unreadable, but the twitch in his jaw betrayed something. Guilt?
No.
Just tension. "That's not fair," he muttered. "What's not fair?" I said, my tone sharper now, "is rewriting history and calling it healing. What's not fair is cutting me out and still expecting me to stay quiet about it." Aubrey finally spoke. Her voice was flat, not even curious, just tired. "This isn't a courtroom." "No," I said, stepping forward, but I still brought evidence. I reached into my coat and pulled out the second copy of the will. I unfolded it slowly, letting the rustle of paper fill the silence. Marla flinched at the sound. "You want to paint me as unstable?" I continued. "That's easier than admitting what you did. But facts don't disappear just because they make you uncomfortable." "You embarrassed us," Marla snapped, voice rising.
No.
"I exposed you." She stepped off the last stair, her slippers making no sound, but her presence thudding like a judge's gavel. "You don't understand," she said, quieter now, hands trembling slightly at her sides. "I understand perfectly," I replied. "You edited me out of every photo, every story, every plan, and now, legally, from your future. And you still thought I'd sit here and smile like it didn't happen." Marla tried again. "I'm still your mother." "No," I said. You're Aubrey's manager with a sentimental title. The fridge clicked off. Silence roared. I turned to Craig.
And you?
You sat there for 3 years while I funded your daughter's life and said nothing. Craig finally removed his glasses, folded them carefully, and placed them on the paper. You always did make things harder than they needed to be, he said. That one sentence said everything. It wasn't about truth. It was about convenience. I turned and walked toward the front door. Aubrey never looked up. Marla's shoulders sagged. Craig went back to his paper. Outside, the sunlight felt colder than the shadows inside. That night, I uploaded the will to Reddit. Same subreddit. Same throwaway. Caption: Let's stop pretending this was ever about family. It was about ownership. Within an hour, it had gone viral. Again, a comment with 3,000 upvotes read, "She gave them everything, and they still erased her. This isn't a family. This is a corporation." By morning, Aubrey's Instagram was locked. Marla's Facebook vanished. The family photo albums online started to disappear, one by one. But this time, the silence wasn't mine. It was theirs. 3 days later, I stopped by Eugene's place. He didn't say much, just handed me a photo album. Real, printed, not curated. Inside were photos I hadn't seen in over a decade. Me and Aubrey on a carousel. Me at a spelling bee. Me holding up a winning science fair ribbon with a gap-toothed grin. I felt something break and something repair at the same time. Your mom said you always hated the camera, Eugene said. I shook my head. I didn't hate the camera. I just hated being edited out. He nodded slowly, like he'd known all along. Before I left, he reached for my hand, squeezed gently. You're not crazy, he said. You're just the first one to say it out loud. There's something terrifying about being right. Not vindicated. Not triumphant. Just right. And knowing that the people who made you feel crazy for years never misunderstood you. They just hoped you'd stay quiet. It started with a knock. Not on my door. On my screen. A name I hadn't seen in years. Jamie Rivera. A friend of a friend. High school theater crew. Married now, I think, to one of Aubrey's old college friends. Her message was short. Hey, this might be weird, but I think you should hear this. Then she sent a voice memo. 5 minutes long. I hesitated. Then hit play. There was laughter first. Someone chewing gum. Chatter in the background. Then Aubrey's voice. Sharp. Familiar, rehearsed. She's basically my personal ATM. She'll cave. She always does. Another girl gasped, half laughing. That's cold. Please, Aubrey replied. Guilt is cheaper than gratitude. I paused the file. Then played it again. This time, I didn't flinch. I didn't even blink. The truth didn't hurt anymore. It confirmed what I already knew. What I'd known in my bones every time I sent money and received silence in return. Have you ever heard the truth and realized you weren't crazy? That your instincts were right all along, but everyone around you needed you to doubt yourself? If you've been there, comment 9 below. Now, let's see what happens when the silence finally breaks. Jamie followed up with another text. I was added to a group by accident. Stayed to see how far it went. I saved this before they kicked me out. I replied with one word. Thank you. Then I posted the audio on Reddit. No commentary. Just the truth. Caption. Turns out I wasn't crazy, just surrounded by people who profited from the lie. It went viral faster than the will had. Thousands of upvotes. Hundreds of comments. DMs from strangers saying things like, this is emotional abuse with receipts. You are not alone. I live this too. You're brave for speaking. I didn't respond to most. I didn't need to, because this wasn't about going viral. It was about reclaiming the story they tried to write without me. The fallout came fast. Aunt Martha left the family group chat for the second time in 6 months. Adrian posted under the thread publicly. Delaney isn't bitter.
She's brave.
There's a difference. Aubrey's profile went dark. Stories disappeared. Comments locked. Judith's Facebook?
Gone.
Then came the text. From Judith. Take it down. You're hurting the family. I stared at the message like it was written in another language. The family. The same family that cut me out of the will. That let me pay for everything and thanked each other. That erased me in real time and called it peace. I typed back. You erased me for years. This is me reclaiming space. No reply, but silence is loud when it's finally not yours. That weekend, I spoke on a live stream panel about surviving emotional gaslighting within families. I didn't name names. I didn't need to.
I just told the story as it was. Clean. True.
Relentless. One girl messaged me after and said, "Your words made me cancel a payment I couldn't afford. I thought being generous made me good, but it just made me invisible." I cried that night. For her.
For me.
For all the girls taught that silence is loyalty and that family means never questioning who holds the pen. Then came the second knock. This one real. Monday morning. Light rain. I opened the door to find Adrian standing there, damp and disheveled, holding a small envelope. "I owe you more than this," he said, voice soft. But I had to start somewhere. He handed me $60 in cash. "One lunch a month," he said, "for every time I acted like you didn't matter." Behind him, Marlene stood under an umbrella, curls soaked, eyes red. "I used to think you were just too much," she said. "Too intense. Too emotional. But now I see you were just outnumbered." They didn't stay long. We didn't hug, but it was enough. Later that night, Eugene called. He'd been quiet for days, but now his voice had that steady, low heat, like a pot that never boils over. "I was at their house last week," he said. "They didn't know I came in. I heard them talking. Judith and Craig."
He paused.
"They were laughing, Delaney. Laughing like what they did to you was clever. Like it was strategy." I didn't speak. Just let the silence wrap around us like a cold blanket. "They think people forget," Eugene said. But I didn't. And now, neither will anyone else. I whispered, "You once told me silence was power." "It is," he replied, "until it starts protecting the wrong side." The next morning, I sat at my desk at the nonprofit office. The light streamed in through the cracked blinds. The room smelled like old wood and fresh coffee. No framed photos yet. Just a clean desk, a half-filled notepad, and a mug that said, "You do not have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm." I stared at the quote and breathed, then opened my laptop. There was an email. A small liberal arts college downtown was hosting a conference on resilience.
They wanted me to speak.
"We've followed your story. There are students who feel erased. Would you consider sharing?" I typed back, "Yes, I'd be honored." Not because I wanted attention, but because truth, once told, becomes a ladder for others still climbing out of the dark. That night, I passed a mirror on my way to bed. I saw my reflection, no longer tired, not bitter, just whole. And I thought to myself, you didn't win because they apologized. You won because you're still standing, and no one can erase you now. I didn't expect the envelope.
Not that day.
Not after everything. It came early, just after 8 a.m. The sky was still soft, gray like wet cement. I hadn't even made coffee yet. I was still barefoot, walking from bedroom to kitchen when I heard the soft metal clatter. I opened the door and found it plain brown, thick, with no return address. My name written in a looping script I didn't recognize. I knew what it was before I opened it. Inside was a copy of the final will. This time, there were annotations. Highlighted names, arrows,
Notes.
and one glaring omission.
Me.
Every dollar, every item, every inheritance went to Aubrey. No clause about me. No beloved second daughter. No provision. Nothing. Just air where my name used to be. It wasn't shocking, but it still knocked the breath out of me. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at it for what felt like an hour. The steam from my coffee faded before I even took a sip. I knew what this was. It wasn't just about money. It was about erasure. It was the legal version of a shrug. A final brush-off signed in ink. I forwarded the file to Grandpa Eugene. He called within minutes. "That's new," he said. "That's not the one we reviewed 2 years ago. She changed it." His voice was calm, but the edge was there. She knew exactly what she was doing. Another call came in that afternoon. Alina. We hadn't spoken since the anniversary disaster, back when Judith staged a perfect dinner while I watched from the outside. "She didn't tell anyone," Alina whispered. "Judith said you were being dramatic, that you didn't deserve anything real." I laughed. A short, bitter sound. "Dramatic," I repeated. Or just no longer silent. She didn't answer, but the pause said enough. I didn't ask her to pick a side. I wasn't collecting allies anymore. I was collecting truth. 2 days later, I showed up at the house. No appointment. No announcement. Just me and the document. I walked into the living room without knocking. Judith sat at the piano, pretending to read sheet music. Craig was at the dining table with the crossword puzzle. Aubrey, of course, was on the couch in another curated sweatsuit, scrolling. I placed the envelope on the table, right in front of Craig. He didn't look up. "I'm not here to yell," I said. "And I'm not here to beg. One conversation. One moment of honesty. That's all I want." Judith stood at the top of the stairs, arms crossed, looking like she was preparing a press statement. She opened her mouth. I raised a hand. "If your love was conditional, say that. If your version of family means obedience, not connection, say it. Don't call it care." Craig finally looked at me. His eyes were distant. "That's not fair," he said. "What's not fair is editing someone out of your story and calling it healing." I turned to Aubrey. She met my gaze for a second. That was all. She reached for her phone. "Don't," I warned. "If you're going to record this to make me look unhinged again, at least wait until I leave." She dropped the phone. My eyes moved around the room. Same furniture. Same curated mantle of framed pictures. Same staged perfection. This wasn't my house. It never was. I just helped fund the illusion. Judith stepped forward. "You don't understand," she said. I cut her off. "I do. I understand more than you ever gave me credit for." No one replied. No one stopped me when I walked out. Later that night, I uploaded the will to the Reddit thread. No dramatic caption. Just facts. Let's stop pretending this was ever about family. It was about ownership. The comments lit up within minutes. "This is psychological warfare. She gave them everything and they erased her. She's not vengeful. She's surviving." Aubrey's Instagram disappeared entirely. Judith's Facebook went private. The carefully curated story of a perfect family collapsed under its own weight. Alina texted the next day. I didn't know. I really didn't. I believed her. Mostly. But I wasn't in the business of making people feel better anymore. Not at the cost of myself. That evening, Eugene called. Just to say, "Proud of you." I didn't cry. I didn't even sigh. I just stood at the window and let the quiet settle. Not heavy, but earned. The kind of quiet that comes after a long war when the final battle ends not with a bang, but with truth. For the first time in years, I wasn't holding up a family. I was holding up myself. The sun rose differently the next morning. Or maybe I just saw it for what it was. I drove through the city with no tightness in my chest. No rehearsed speeches. No clenched jaw. Just movement. I parked in front of a nonprofit. The building was old, creaky, but sunlight poured through the windows like something honest. Inside, my desk was still bare. No pictures. No plants. Just a notepad and my laptop. I opened the calendar. The day was full. Grant proposals. Outreach emails. A Zoom call with a shelter director. And for the first time in forever, I felt grounded. Not invisible. Not erased. Not useful.
Just me.
No Aubrey updates. No Judith emails. Just silence. But this time, it didn't echo inside me. It felt like peace. Grandpa Eugene called around noon. You eat yet? Not yet. About to. Still working too hard? No harder than I want to. He chuckled. That's new. Later that day, Eleanor stopped by the office with muffins. She didn't explain. Just handed them over. Thought you might forget to eat. Thanks, I said. She smiled. And for once, I believed it was real. The thing is, no one ever said sorry. Not Judith. Not Craig.
Not Aubrey.
And I didn't expect them to. Their absence said enough. That week, I got an email from a college downtown. They were holding a panel on resilience. We've followed your posts, the email said. Would you consider speaking? We have students who feel invisible inside their own families. I typed back, yes, I'd be honored. Not to relive the pain, but to give it a name, a shape, so others could stop questioning their sanity. So they could say, that happened. That's real. On Friday, I stopped by my usual cafe. Table by the window. 1 coffee for me. 1 extra. Just in case. I scrolled through my phone. Aubrey's profile was gone. Locked down. No content. No apology. But I didn't want one. Because healing never needed their permission. And revenge? It wasn't screaming or burning bridges. It was this. Sitting in the sun. Alive. Grounded. With a voice they could no longer erase. I've come out the other side whole, not broken, not bitter, just finally free. My story is no longer filtered through someone else's silence. It belongs to me now. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Staying silent to protect others who harm you doesn't make you strong. It makes you invisible. And no matter how much you give, those who profit from your silence will never give you your worth back. Have you ever stayed quiet to keep the peace, only to lose yourself in the process? If this story reminded you of your own, drop a comment or share where you're from. You're not alone, and you never were. And if you want to hear more stories about reclaiming your voice and rewriting your ending, don't forget to subscribe. The next truth might be yours.